Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Meeting of the Wahoo City Council, Tuesday, April 23rd, 7 o'clock p.m. Open Meetings Act is posted on the wall. More information is up at City Hall if you're interested. Call a meeting to order and roll call.
Stuart Creechy.
Here.
Shane Sweet.
Here.
Carl Warford.
Here.
Ryan Ideas.
Here.
Chris Grappel.
Here.
Patrick Nagel.
Here.
Proclamations, none. Anybody in the audience that wants to discuss something that's not on the agenda? Seeing nothing there. We'll go directly into the department head reports. Chief Joe.
Brand new Dollar
All right. I know it's my turn to give the speech, and I apologize for not getting a report out to you guys. Just been really busy this week, and last week as well. But I just made some notes here, and I'll go over them real quick. If you guys got any questions, feel free to ask me afterwards. But basically, our staff, we're full-time staff. We got all our number of officers up to date. One of the things we do have going on, we do have some officers that are showing interest in some other agencies that are paid more than we do. So we might be losing some here in the future. Plus, we have an officer that's under contract that's almost to the end, got another year left on his contract. So we could be losing it. I have been thinking about trying to expand our part-time officers a little bit, try to get some more of them on to fill some of those shortages and when they came up. Not to expand if you do see some new guys working, they won't be full-time officers, or they won't be in addition to the budget, but maybe we'll get some new faces in. As far as equipment goes, we're doing good on all of our equipment. Our cruisers are all up and running. All of our cameras in the cruisers and our body cams are all up and running, working well. Cruisers, we got 166,000 on one, 140, 116,000, and then we got 9,000 on the new cruiser so far. As far as crime, overall, meth's still probably the number one problem that leads to other problems as well within the community. Not that it's what all small towns face. We have had some suspects from the metro creep into Wahoo and cause some problems. We had a car stolen and a place burglarized close by. If you probably heard about it. That suspect was apprehended in Council Bluffs. We were able to, with some help from our records clerk, did a great job. Said, hey, I remember that name somewhere on the suspect that was picked up in Council Bluffs. We were able to go interview that person and tie him to put him in Wahoo on the night of the burglary, leaving Wahoo in the vehicle the night of the burglary. So it worked out well, and it was a big help from Stephanie, our records clerk. We had the NP Mart got hit the other day on a burglary. The manager of the store was able to identify a potential suspect that was in the store earlier the day casing the place. We did a search warrant on that last Saturday in Ralston with Douglas County Narcotics Unit. We ended up getting all the stuff we were looking for in the burglary, as far as his clothing and stuff that he wore, some of the products that were taken. We also ended up getting a bunch of narcotics. The guy had I think it looked like several ounces of meth, or a couple ounces of meth, some cocaine, some possible fentanyl. So he's currently in bond in Douglas County on those charges, and we'll tie him to the burglary here when we get all of our case filed together on that. There was also some car break-ins. Another person from the Metro. We had a bunch of car break-ins. I think it went around social media for a while. We did end up tying that with, let's see, it was basically a good work by a Fremont cop. We put out a picture of the vehicle. Fremont cop saw one that sort of matched the description, tracked it down. It had been sold to another person. He tracked down the people. We ended up tying that person up too. So that was a nice job by the Fremont police officer. Trooper Landry, throw out some shout outs to some other police agencies. Trooper Landry did a great job. I think we were tied up on 2 major crime cases. Fatality came up there on the highway. Trooper Landry showed up. He got his team from Lincoln came up with their accident investigation. They had that cleared up in about 3 hours, and they did a great job on that. Once again, Saunders County deputies are always helping us out as well. Training, we're staying up on training. We had an officer go through a master instructor program for defensive tactics. We've done a couple presentations for some businesses around town on active shooters. We helped out with, we were president of the school lockdowns when they did that. Community service stuff goes. We've had some coffees with the senior center, Saunders House. Al helped out at the car show up at the South Haven the other day, said it went really well. So he's looking forward to doing his car show as well. And on the big important news, I did have announced today that I'm having my 6th grandchild with, it's going to be a grandson. So after eight dealing with 8 girls, I finally have 2 boys now. One a year old, and I'm going to have another one here. So down in the Kansas City area. Does anybody got any questions for me? No? All right, thank you guys.
Thank you. Melissa.
So this is available online, but also here's a paper copy for you. Just a few quick things to run through. In the last couple of weeks, I attended the pre-construction meeting for both the downtown water line construction as well as the public engagement portion of that. On May 2nd from 4 to 7 here at the library, there will be an event for that public engagement component of the downtown water main project. The contractor is planning, I think, to be in the area approximately the 6th of May to start work. They'll be starting First and Linden and working up Linden Street to 7th with water line installation. And prior to that, if you are in the downtown area, of course, following all of the FAA rules, they will be using a drone to capture the condition of everything, sidewalks, curbs, etc., to help in that project closeout at the end. So Jerry and I also met with First Lieutenant John Warrow from the National Guard to talk about our next touch points with the Guard. We're going to be planning to meet approximately monthly, some of them by Zoom, some in person. Our focus is going to be on working with the PAYS program, which is a program that partners guardsmen or either current guardsmen or some getting out of the military with jobs listings in the communities. And then they want to meet with educators. So on various projects, we're continuing to work on Wilmer Ridge project closeout. We have had an issue. The line crew has been installing electrical lines, and they're doing that by boring. There's been some pavement issues that we're working through where the pavement has been impacted by the process of boring. Now, that's raised some questions about the quality of the paving and the integrity of the paving, but we're working through those, and I don't really have anything other than to report to you that we're aware this has happened. We're working through the situation. We've talked with Olson as well, who did the project oversight. So we're working through those issues. Recall we authorized the downtown stormwater study project to look at the condition of the downtown storm sewer system and identify any potential issues where we might need to make repairs before the water lines were installed. Good news is that most of the conflicts are small stormwater lead pipes. So that's something that there should be minimal conflicts between storm sewer and water in that project. What else? I mentioned this in the Finance Committee meeting, but you obviously, if you follow the legislature at all, you'll know that they adjourned. I'm guessing they will be coming back for a special session to address property taxes. LB 388, which was the governor's tax package, that was the one that had the increase in sales tax as well as elimination of sales tax exemptions, was passed over, but that also had in there some changes to the city's budgeting process. So right now we have this lid on restricted funds. So some of the restricted funds are sales tax and highway allocation. Those are two specific that it's frustrating to me because those are areas where we have growth because we're a growing community, but because we have this formula on restricted funds that we have to follow, those increases can often only be used for capital improvements. So in this bill was also a provision that would change that. It would eliminate all of the restricted fund language and change to we would only be allowed a maximum of a 3% increase in our property tax dollar ask. So it's very simple to explain to the public, very simple for me to explain to you, very simple for you to say, no, this is our limit, you know, maybe we only want to do one, or we want to do 1.5, or I was actually disappointed that the bill didn't move forward just because of that part of it. So we'll continue to watch that. The last thing I have is that vehicle decals we finally have those distributed out to the departments, so you'll be beginning to see those put on city vehicles. Then also in your packet is the annual TIF report. There's two parts of it. There's a summary TIF report, which has got the color on it, and that was sent to, and is required by statute to be sent to all of the taxing entities that are affected by our approval of TIF projects. So county, NRD, schools, ESU. That was sent out last week. So if you have any questions on that, I can certainly answer questions. We did have one project, the Wahoo Locker project, that was paid in full. So that was returned to the full allocation to all of the taxing entities. It was paid off approximately 6 years early, so that's good. Then the other report is, which is under my city administrator. No, there you go, the annual TIF report. That's more extensive. I have presented this every year, but it goes into a more detail about each one of the projects. So if you scroll to one of the examples for Omaha Steel, Wahoo Locker, that one was completed. So you can see what their base value was, what their excess value ended up being. So you can see how that property tax value increased over the life of the project. You can see how the property tax rates have actually decreased over the time. And then at the bottom, you'll see how those payments were made. So we had a payment to the developer, a payment to the city, reimbursement of our legal expenses, and you can see how that was all paid out. So that detail sheet is in there for every one of the projects that we have approved. Also on this summary sheet, you don't need to go back to it, but there is an expected estimated completion date of the TIF, of when we believe it's going to be come off. I don't think there's any of our rest of our projects that will be coming off before the 15 years are up. Then behind these detail sheets, back to the bigger report, there's some evaluations of some of our peer communities. So I took those communities with a population, 10 communities that are bigger than us, 10 that are smaller than us, and compared where we are in terms of the utilization of TIF. We're at 3.88% of our total taxable value is wrapped up into TIF. The average of these communities is 4.11, so we're under our peer communities average. Then the next page kind of looks at how the TIF is used in those communities. The state report that comes out in March of every year breaks down residential, commercial, and industrial uses of that, so you can see how communities are using that. We always have this conversation about use of TIF for residential development, and so this bottom part of this goes into a little bit detail about those communities that are experiencing growth, like UTAN, Greenwood, which feeds into the Ashland School District, Valley, and Waterloo, which are in DC West, and shows how kind of what their use of TIF is. I'm always shocked when I look at Valley and Waterloo. The DC West School District there's like, what, $280 million of taxable revenue that's going to fund TIF projects. And those are lake projects. They're Mallard's Landing and what's the other one? Blue Water Subdivision. So those are used for public infrastructure. So we may get more conversation, more pressure. We may be challenged on making TIF available for residential use. And I don't know whether that's something you want to consider or not. I think, I don't think it's completely out of line, but I certainly don't want to get to the point where Valley and Waterloo are at all, because it impacts the community significantly. The last page is the redevelopment areas that we have, and then the number of acres that we have. I will call your attention to the blighted percentage in Wahoo. This doesn't have those minor annexations we've done recently, but we are right at about 35%. And that's in line with what a city of the first class can have. Cities of the second class are allowed to go up to 50, but I don't want to have to, when we make that transition, start looking at what we're gonna have to eliminate. So if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them. Otherwise, we have a long agenda, so I'll be quiet.
I have a question, not part of your report, but, City Hall, I was in front of City Hall and they towed the street cleaning
Yeah.
machine in. Is there something major or,
I don't know.
okay? I didn't
Joe
know.
hasn't reported that to me yet, so I know that piece of equipment is a few years old.
That's what I wondered.
When Joe came on board, I think they did some work to it to try to make it last. They did some upgrades, and I think there's more work to be done with it, but that's a piece of machinery that, with just the environment that it operates in, with the dust and it's tough on
You
machine.
can see where it went around the town today. I think it was swirling oil around with it or something.
But I think that
It didn't
also
evaporate.
Yeah,
drives home the point that your grass clippings don't belong in the street. Your leaves don't get raked to the street so that we can come by with a street sweeper and pick them up. Your garbage doesn't go in the street. I mean, really the reason why we should be cleaning the streets is to clean up the sand and gravel that we use for ice control. We shouldn't be cleaning up all of those other things, but that does happen.
That's why the first two passes go back
Thank
into
you.
the yard.
consent agenda. 4 items here, pretty much routine.
Question on claims.
Okay?
Butler County landfill,
Yes.
that was to clean up.
Yeah, I'll talk a little bit about that, because that's.
Thank you.
And I think Joe has talked a little bit about this, but if you recall back in November, roughly, maybe between Thanksgiving and Christmas, the leaf and grass pile out at the landfill caught on fire. We got it put out. There was another one that started, we believe it was because of someone dumped an empty garbage can that had been burned into that, but nevertheless, that is when Department of Energy, Environment and Energy, DEE, came out and did an inspection. And because of that burning, there was some debris that was in there that was covered with the grass and leaves that was exposed. Well, in their assumption then is that everything within that pile is contaminated, right? Because you can burn the trees, but you can't burn clean lumber. You can't burn lumber that's been painted. You can't burn the post that you took out of your fence or that you took off of your deck. And so, or anything that has metal in it. So if you have a post that's wrapped up with wire, that wire now contaminates the pile. So they came out and did their inspection, and they're only doing their job, so we can't really be that upset about it. But the best way to handle this was to take the material, load it out, and take it to the landfill. So we This is actually the second round of payments, so we have spent a sizable amount of money cleaning that pile up. And I give Joe and his crew a lot of kudos because they go out there every day and take a look at it, and sure enough, somebody has put, even though the sign says no bags, their grass clippings are sitting there in a biodegradable bag. Well, that's not allowed. Or the trash that you pick up when you're cleaning out your garden beds or your landscaping beds, somebody's got a pop can that's still garbage. You're supposed to be picking that out before you take your stuff out there. So we have cameras up. We've been working with the police department on prosecuting those people who are dumping illegally. But at the end of the day, we sort of harp on this to people when we have conversations about it, is that if you're out there and you see somebody that is dumping something that's not allowed, it's your responsibility as a citizen to step up and say something.
Yeah, we need to keep that place.
Right.
And,
It's valuable to
It's
all
valuable.
of us.
And people like to dump. So yeah, this
so-
month it was $6,500. That was something we could have done more cameras with, more something else with.
Right.
But we
Yes,
had to
so-
clean up after.
I don't
people.
think, I think that will be it, because there was quite an accumulation of the grass and leaves. We were pulling some of it out and spreading it on the field each year, but it wasn't nearly what is being accumulated there. So I think that's being closely monitored by our crews. But again, we have better things to do with our time besides babysit. So
Thank you.
Good question. Any other comments?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second? Second over here. Any other questions? Roll call on the consent agenda.
Creachy,
Yes.
Warford,
Yes.
Sweet,
Yes.
Ideas.
Yes.
Raffle,
Yes.
Nagel.
Yes.
Okay, starting on some public hearings here. Number one, public hearing on an amendment to the City of Wahoo zoning regulations to provide for the deletion of section 5.18 residential/mixed use development district and all references to said district contained in the regulations, and consideration of ordinance to provide for said amendment.
you want me to?
Is it? Yeah, yeah.
So this is a public hearing, but what this action would do is eliminate the residential mixed-use development district, which we currently have no property, no locations that are zoned that way from our zoning regulations, including the references in our sign regulations and our transportation corridor overlay district. So the intent then with doing this removal would be then to replace that with the planned unit development regulations that were sent to you. A little history, the RMD was sort of where the city landed when the Chestnut Neighborhood North project was proposed. We had PUD regulations in our zoning document, but we weren't legally allowed to have them in our zoning document as a city of the second class. So we took the PUD out, put the RMD in, and in 2012, 13, somewhere along there, the legislature gave cities of the second class the authority to have a PUD district. So we just are now going back to the PUD. So that would be the intent of this.
Okay, Melissa's given an explanation. I would open up the public hearing. Anybody have any questions from the public? Let's get in. Any questions from the public?
Motion to close the public hearing. I'll second that.
Okay, roll call on the motion to close the public hearing.
Warford,
Yes.
Raffle.
Yes.
Sweet,
Yes.
Nagel,
Yes.
Creachy.
Yes.
Ideas.
Yes.
Okay, action on,
Motion to introduce.
Second.
Hold on, you're moving faster than I am.
Yeah, this is an ordinance.
It's an ordinance.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, motion to introduce, and second.
Being a zone reg change, can we waive?
Yes.
Yes. Motion to waive.
Second.
Motion to
Got it.
introduce, and then we had a motion to waive.
Okay, so vote on the motion to waive first.
We can do them both. Probably not, but
Warford,
Yes.
Krejci?
Yes.
Ideas?
Yes.
Nagel?
Yes.
Grapple?
Yes.
Sweet?
Yes.
okay, that's on the introduction. Now roll call on waive.
Other
Warford,
way.
Yes.
Krejci?
Yes.
Ideas?
Yes.
Nagel?
Yes.
Grapple?
Yes.
Sweet.
Yes.
Any questions on the ordinance?
It's approved.
We're done.
We approved it.
Yep. Hopefully not.
Now we're ready for the next public hearing, Jerry.
Okay, we'll move on. It's moving faster now. I figured it'd be kind of fast, but, okay, second one, public hearing on the amendment to the City of Wahoo zoning regulations to provide for the addition of planned unit developments, consideration of ordinance to provide for said amendment. Do we have an introduction?
Well,
Open the public hearing,
yeah.
yeah.
I'll just elaborate a little bit. So when these regulations, I believe I submitted them to you, we had conversations here, maybe back in February. The planning commission was very diligent in going through these regulations, and they recommended the 3 changes that are, if you go into the regulations, are highlighted in yellow in the attachment. The first one was changing from, we had proposed 4 acres for multifamily residential, and they, after conversation, agreed that 3 would be the best. The section D1 there says the approval of any preliminary plan for a planned unit development shall expire 2 years from the date of approval of the preliminary site plan plat by the city council, approved by the city council, if no detailed site plan has been submitted or if no construction for the planned unit development has been initiated. In such event, the commission shall initiate the amendment of the official zoning to eliminate that designation. That was something they saw in the Nebraska City version and wanted to have included. And then the last one was, just has to do with section H, provision I, yeah, they wanted height added into that. So that if, and this has to do with when a plan has to come back. So if they come to you and propose they want a 2-story building and their plan changes and now they want to make it 3-story, prior to adding height, that wasn't necessary that they come back, but now with this inclusion, it would be necessary, so.
Okay, again, I'll open up the public hearing. If anybody has any comments from the public? Kevin?
No questions, but I'll introduce myself as a proponent and make myself available for any questions of council. Kevin Anderson, JO Investments, 1937 North Chestnut.
Okay.
Now, I'm assuming Travis and Tracy, the reason for the second change was you don't want a developer coming in, creating a PUD, doing nothing with it, and then it just staying in perpetuity as a PUD. The intent is you gotta do something. Is that why that was changed?
Okay.
I think it added an extra layer of kind of protection for us to have the option.
There was, at the planning commission, there was a lot of conversation about, well, you come in and you get this PU designation and then you sit there and you don't do anything. If you're gonna come and do the work to put, and have the city do the work to go through the PUD application review process, then you should be prepared to start your project. I think that's pretty much, yeah.
Any other comments?
No, I was just gonna say, we talked a lot about things change and things happen, and that's why we wanted to add that, do that.
Anybody else? Motion?
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Okay, vote on closing public hearing. Roll call.
Warford,
Yes.
Sweet,
Yes.
Rappel,
Yes.
Ideas,
Yes.
Krejci,
Yes.
Nagel.
Yes.
Consideration of ordinance to provide for said amendment. Is there an introduction?
Motion introduced.
There you go.
Who's seconding?
I was waiting.
Thank you,
Move
I
it
appreciate
around a
it.
little bit.
That's a good flow, I break it.
Is there a motion to waive?
Motion away.
Second.
Carl, you didn't jump in there.
I wasn't sure.
Okay.
We're creating new zoning
First
districts.
we'll
A little
vote
leery.
on
Was it
the
rushed? Is it
introduction of
rushed?
the, forgot that step.
They had it before.
I gotta do it
Put
in
it-
specific
Yeah,
steps, so we got it.
Vote on the introduction first, I forgot that again.
The
waiver.
We have to vote on the waive first.
Yep.
Waive first?
Waiver.
Yep.
Okay,
Krejci,
Yes.
Nagel.
Yes.
Ideas.
Yes.
Rappel,
Yes.
Sweet,
Yes.
Warford.
No.
now,
Doesn't matter, pass it anyway.
on the ordinance as final reading.
Final reading. Warford,
Yes.
Sweet,
Yes.
Ideas,
Yes.
Nagel,
Yes.
Rappel,
Yes.
Krejci.
Yes.
Okay, number 3, public hearing on final plat of Outlot D, Wilma Ridge Edition, a replat of Outlook B, Wilma Ridge Edition, and a part of the south, half of the southwest quarter, all of section 34, T15, R7E.
So that, the actual plat is in that, is in the 3B, Christina. Actually, up 3B under the public hearings.
3B,
Yeah. One more, right there.
there we go.
Yeah, there you go.
Do you have any comments, or say open the public hearing?
No, this is just the 2.2 acres that JU Investments purchased to expand the stormwater drainage area, as well as provide the area for the trail connection, so.
It's just the outlet that we're replatting right now.
Right.
Instead of making it
We-
something else, we're turning it into.
Right, we annexed that area, and now we're going, if you're agreeable, we would replat it after we officially accept that 2.2 acres as city property.
Okay, open up the public hearing on the action to accept conveyance. Anybody have any comments in public?
Motion to close public hearing.
Second.
Roll call on closing the public hearing.
Warford,
Yes.
Ideas.
Yes.
Krejci,
Yes.
Nagel,
Yes.
Sweet,
Yes.
Rappel.
Yes.
Okay, 3A, action to accept the conveyance
Motion
Of
to-
that property, yes.
of the
Motion to
property.
approve.
I'll second.
Above stated property.
Sorry, you guys are going faster than I am tonight. Made and second, got it, okay. So Warford,
Yes.
Ideas.
Yes.
Sweet,
Yes.
Nagel,
Yes.
Rappel,
Yes.
Krejci.
Yes.
Okay, 3B, final plat of Outlet D, Wilma Ridge Edition to replat of Outlet B, Wilma Ridge Edition, and a part of the south half, the southwest quarter, section 34T15 R7. Public hearing.
This should have been part of that previous public hearing out of 3, right?
Yep.
So we
Right.
just need a motion to approve on this?
Yes.
Okay,
Second.
Nagel, second, got it, okay.
roll call.
Warford,
Yes.
Nagel,
Yes.
Sweet,
Yes.
Rappel,
Yes.
Krejci,
Yes.
Ideas.
Yes.
So before we go on to the next item, I just want to make sure you are all aware that the trail connection has been completed. So if you ever are walking, you can go from Wahoo Public Schools along 23rd Street, go through Wilmer Ridge subdivision and connect to the trail that goes out to the lake, or go across the bridge and go into Cook and Plotchik Park. So yes, I think, I would just like to publicly thank JAO Investments for the time and money that they put into making that connection. I know it was part of the Wilmer Ridge subdivision and the agreement, but I think it is an asset that people will get
It's very nice.
used, yes, for sure, so.
I saw people using it last night.
Yeah.
Okay, fourth public hearing regarding approval of replat of lots 1, 2, and the east 12-foot of lot 3, block 95, county addition into 3 separate parcels, and action to approve or deny. Public hearing is open. Anybody have any comments, public? Don't believe so. No comments, motion to close.
Motion to close public hearing?
I'll second that.
Okay, roll call on closing the public hearing on 4.
Warford,
Yes.
Raffle,
Yes.
Ideas.
Yes.
Sweet,
Yes.
Creachy,
Yes.
Nagel.
Yes.
Number 5, public hearing regarding the.
Well, we need to approve that plat, approve the
Oh,
plat.
okay, yeah. Action to approve that action.
Do you have anything, Travis?
built by the
Yeah, I'm not any questions for you.
Yes, I think all of us with faces glued to that one, we're trying to figure out what that even means. At least I know I am.
I know it's a triplex that the Hancock's just built.
Brand new Dollar General discount.
Okay, I didn't find this, I was in the other document.
Yeah, so this specific location here was a property, had a single-family house on it. It was purchased, the house was demoed, and then this triplex was built. When it was permitted for as a condominium. The condominium, they could have separate ownership of the living space with common grounds around it. So that's how that was all permitted. Setbacks, according to that, green space, everything else was set in place for that. As they tried marketing these or whatever, ran into some difficulties, whatnot, they asked if there was any way that they could do it differently. So they wanted to try to set up townhouses instead, which brought a whole different mess of problems as far as the way it was constructed. The way it was constructed is fine with the separation and everything, but the lot itself, with green space and everything, because of the ownership of townhouse being different, you know, the townhouse, you don't have the common area. You have basically lots on the common wall. So to get setbacks and everything else, they've actually had to purchase, or once this is approved, they'll draw everything up, I imagine, as far as purchasing that 12 feet from the neighbor to the west, to combine that to get the lot sizes needed and everything for the size of structure. There is a sewer easement, it's included in there for the neighbor's sewer that they actually moved to that location because it did run across that property. And then we have the sewer easement at the bottom there. One thing that was not changed previously, and it was recommendation from the Planning Commission to approve with sewer easement for those, because once again, like I said, a condominium has common ground, common ownership of that ground. Well, each one of those sewers comes out the front and then it turns and goes to the alley. So the sewer line of each one of those properties runs right across the front. So they're gonna have to add a sewer easement across the front of those properties as well. Same with water service. So that's something the surveyor is gonna have to do, and then an easement filed with that. That was the recommendation of the Planning Commission to approve with that sewer easement being added.
So your recommendation is to approve it, subject to the easement, subject to acquiring the additional ground from the neighbor?
Right, so we'd have to have all that documentation and everything on that, the sewer easement added in there before we'd sign and file, essentially.
Which they don't need to do, it's just you're gonna hold it until all of that's been, comes
Right.
back to you correctly.
And, you know, with, like I said before, the setbacks, with the way the lots are configured now, it would meet the setback requirement for a rear yard. Once again, the common wall obviously doesn't have a setback because it's conjoined. But we'd have front yard setbacks, everything else in place with that amount of green space, percent of lot coverage, all that stuff that goes along with the townhouse. So that's why we kind of end up with that 2R, that's kind of a flagpole shaped lot.
That's a pretty unusual shape. So on the west end, is that what's above the retaining wall?
Correct, yeah, essentially that's all on top of the retaining wall.
So what is the likelihood that they're not getting that additional 12-foot?
I had the property owner to the west that they asked for that. He actually called me and asked me kind of a price and stuff, and it seemed like he was willing to sell. But I haven't heard anything else if they've actually done so or not. But.
Are 3 and 4 then, the 3 and 4 on the left over there then, are those gonna get combined? Cause I don't imagine that's much space to do
No, it's
anything
left on
with.
3.
So the guy, he owns all the way from
Oh, it's
that to, yep, he owns all the way from there to the other street.
Okay.
So
So
all
he-
that
he's
property.
creating
might have to
kind of a
do-
non-marketable lot to 3 if he'd ever wanna.
Right,
sell
like,
it to
what
three.
do you plan on doing with that? I mean, might as well just knock it all out at the same time, but, okay.
So with this change of direction, in 5 years, is somebody gonna wanna come back and put that as condos? Can it go back the other way?
Yeah, I suppose they could have common
I was
ground.
just wondering if this
If
is a
he had
little
reached
street.
that, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, the action would be to
Thank you.
3 parcels to deny or approve the process, and the actual details goes back to planning and zoning administrator.
What if planning is already approved, and I would make a motion to accept.
Accept,
Yeah.
approve?
Yes.
Okay.
Approve. Yeah.
With the easement and with that
Yes,
land?
yes.
I would second that.
Any other questions or comments? Roll call on approval of the plan.
Creachy?
Yes.
Ideas?
Yes.
Rappel?
Yes.
Sweet?
Yes.
Warford?
Yes.
Okay, public hearing number 5 regarding the approval of the replat of lots 30 and
Sorry.
30 and 31 Heritage Heights to adjust property lines for setback purposes and action to approve or deny. Open that up for public hearing.
This is because of encroachment, correct? Think, Travis?
Yeah, what are we?
This was an encroachment, if I remember correctly, right? This is, Scanlon's property is sitting too close to Linda Little's property?
Yeah, so basically, yeah.
Brand new Dollar General.
Yeah.
Years ago, when Scanlon's built their house, the contractor actually found the sewer stub pin rather than the property pin. So when the house was built, it actually was too close to the property line. So when they landscaped, did their sprinklers, all that stuff for their yard, it actually ended up being on Linda's property, that lot 31, I believe it is. So now she is just correcting that rather than selling, because she plans on selling the lot. So rather than having the neighbor's sprinklers and everything on there, she is
Taking care of
basically selling that, conveying that property to Scanlon's. So their house then won't have a setback issue, and their landscape will be on their own property and everything else. This came before the planning commission once, it was rejected and sent back. We had a problem with the frontage meeting. So on Shailene Circle there, we have a minimum lot width of 80 feet, I believe, in the R1. And we did not have that because of the 15-foot or whatnot that she was transferring over. Now it meets it not at the very front, but in our regulations, if there's a concave street or that, it could be the 80 feet width at the building line. So like what we've done with the large lot before, with that, they're able to, on a cul-de-sac or whatever, use that measurement for the setback line actually. So it meets it now at that setback line. Square footage is appropriate, so we're not creating an undersized lot or anything else like that.
And this doesn't change the western boundary, the back one. A prior draft, if I remember correctly, did, but that's not part of this.
That is not
Okay.
part of it now. Yeah, originally on the first proposal too, she wanted to carve a little chunk out the back to give lot 27 a little bit more backyard, but that is not part of it this time. And once again, on this draft here that we're potentially approving or whatnot, it does not have a sewer easement for the sewer stub that would be originally for lot 31. So the planning commission recommended approval contingent upon that sewer easement being in that portion that's being conveyed, where that sewer stub location's at, when the infrastructure was originally put in.
Okay. Other questions? Bring up any questions from the public? Motion to close the
Motion to
public.
close public hearing?
Second?
Roll call on closing the public hearing.
Warford,
Yes.
Ideas?
Yes.
Nagel,
Yes.
Rappel,
Yes.
Sweet,
Yes.
Creachy.
Yes.
Okay, now action on the replat of lots 30 and 31.
Motion to approve?
Subject to the easement.
Subject to the easement
Second.
as recommended by the planning commission.
Questions? Roll call.
Warford,
Yes.
Creachy,
Yes.
Ideas?
Yes.
Sweet,
Yes.
Nagel,
Yes.
Rappel.
Yes.
Okay. Action items not requiring a public hearing. Approval of proposed parking plan for a fourplex on property described as lots 1 through 3, block 96, County Road Addition, better known as 621 East 12th Street. Anybody here to talk to that?
Yeah, that would be me. Hi everyone, I'm Rick Dorothy. My plan is to, I have existing apartments on that land there, and I'm going to add additional 4 more units to the south of one of the units there. And the existing parking area has, this was built 20 years ago already, and the existing parking has islands in between the parking areas. I'd like to remove those. They've kind of been a problem getting in and out of the cars. It didn't work out the way I wanted them to. And I'd like to use those islands as additional parking for the fourplexes. And it's on, they would back out onto Spruce Street. Very quiet street. In fact, there's a dead end on the south end. You have to take a right to get out off the street, so. Any questions?
Planning and zoning?
Yeah, I didn't know if you wanted me to fill in, but, so this was before the planning commission. As you know, anytime a project's done or whatever, we have a parking plan approval, process that we have to go through. Planning commission visited this, recommended approval on this, but a little history like what Rick had touched on here. So we have, 2 apartment buildings there already. He would like to add that 3rd one in there. And as you know, we did change our parking requirements for a number of units or whatnot. So he has it all laid out there as far as what's existing, what he was required to have, and then what we are required to have today. So the main thing to point out, I guess, is that what he's really talking about is those islands along Spruce Street. So that parking is in city right-of-way, which, as you know, we don't allow, when you're trying to get your parking count or whatnot, it has to be on premise. We already have parking existing there, but he's able to remove these islands that was landscaped in there and meet his parking count with the couple parking lot he's got and utilize that remainder of that right-of-way area. So I don't know, as far as the approval, that's what we're looking at basically is you've already got the hard surface there, the big blue area, the area that he's counting in the right-of-way area, and then beside the other one, up top there, there's some spots for that one. He would have a ADA spot. But otherwise, there's no really additional room on premise to construct this other area if we don't allow the islands to be utilized for parking, I guess would be the case. But like I said, as far as the right-of-way area, that's an approval from here to be able to utilize that towards the parking count. And where it's already somewhat existing, that's your decision, whether the islands or
Well, you
a
had
problem
mentioned
or-
that we don't allow parking in the right of way, but we have done that in this case 20 years ago.
in this case, he's already utilizing the right-of-way for parking.
Right, so it's
Just that, basically, if you approve this layout, he would be adding, what is there, 3 more stalls, basically?
3 more, yeah.
So he'd be adding 3 more stalls to be able to use towards his count to be able to construct this other unit to allow for these 3 apartment buildings, basically. It is R3 zoned for multifamily. We've run the numbers for percent of lot coverage and everything else for that, so we're okay as far as the building goes, but if, obviously if the parking is not approved, then he won't be constructing this.
Well, that's nice to see that we've got available parking 22 and needed is only 20. So we actually have more?
More.
It never works out that way, it seems like.
It's refreshing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if the existings, they might not meet our, as far as circulation, you know, but per that design or whatever at the time, those are the number of stalls that was counted for that, so.
Okay.
Of the existing that was grandfathered in, basically.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah. What's the council action?
And Travis, I'm assuming planning commission and your position basically is if this was brand new, we probably wouldn't want to do it, but are you already married to it?
Yeah, that was basically the discussion. We've already got parking in the right of way that was approved by removing the 3 islands and allowing that to be additional parking. Probably isn't really increasing or causing any more issue than what was already approved in the past.
Right.
But yes, this isn't something that would get approved today for that right of way parking number count.
So we're just making clear, if somebody else comes in and says, well, why was he allowed to do it? It's because it's more of a cleanup of prior actions rather than this is our policy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, you guys said planning commission saw this, they approved it as well with the history.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I
I
would
would make a
recommend
motion to approve.
I'll second. Motion made and second to approve. Any other questions? Roll call.
Warford,
Yes.
Nagel,
Yes.
Sweet,
Yes.
Raffle,
Yes.
Creachy,
Yes.
Ideas.
Yes.
Number 2, resolution to amend City of Wahoo fee schedule to provide for application fees for planned unit developments.
So, as a plan unit development application is similar to the change of zoning or a conditional use permit, we're going to, it's my recommendation, we start with the application fee of $250 plus publication fees. If we get one under our belt and we're like, oh my goodness, this is way more, I will bring back a change. So that would be in addition to the plating fees. So they still need to pay the preliminary plating fees and the final plating fees. So it made sense since the process is similar. There is a public hearing scheduled at the planning commission and a recommendation from them, and then city council. And that process is concurrent with the plating process. So. And we don't offer zoning, subdivision, or infrastructure standards on CD any longer, so I took that.
Those are all
as well.
available online, correct?
Yes, they are. It's just it's a resolution to change this fee.
Motion to approve.
I would second.
Motion made and second to approve the resolution. Questions? Roll call.
Warford,
Yes.
Creachy,
Yes.
Sweet,
Yes.
Nagel,
Yes.
Ideas,
Yes.
Raffle.
Yes.
Number 3, approval of final pay application for Wilma Ridge subdivision.
I would ask that you table this to the next meeting, please.
Motion to table?
Second.
Okay, motion second to table, roll call.
Warford,
Yes.
Ideas,
Yes.
Creachy,
Yes.
Nagel,
Yes.
Raffle,
Yes.
Sweet.
Yes. I just want to see how fast we can get you to keep up.
I appreciate the speed, but
We'll go back to the paper.
I'll run both of them at the same time, kind of slow them down.
You're doing great.
So, sorry, go ahead, Jerry.
Roll call on approval, or table.
We did that.
Oh,
Yep, we're on to number 4.
Okay. Number 4, approval of use of ARPA funding for the purchase of ID card printer. Finance Committee met and discussed this a little bit, but if you
Yeah.
wanna.
So I apologize, this information was not added to the packet until just prior to the meeting, but this is a credential card printer that would be used as part of our onboarding process for all employees. The other part about this is it has the capability of printing an RFID ID so that you can use the card swipe for building entry or for our fuel system. And it also ties directly in with the Salamander program, which is what is kind of used across the state for FEMA, NEMA responses. I did ask, there was a question that came up in the Finance Committee meeting, why this vendor? Grant said it is the vendor that everyone in the state uses, from his understanding, and that they are a preferred partner of Salamander, which is the software tool that goes along with the, it's basically a management of people, resources, equipment, vehicles during a disaster event. So someone asked why using ARPA funding, and where did we land on that, Stuart? I'm sorry,
It was emergency management.
right,
Yes.
emergency management, and it is, prepares us for the next disaster event that we'll be dealing with, which will happen sooner or later, so. If you have any questions, I'll try and answer them.
Yeah, the machine makes sense. It was just debating what fund it should come out
Yeah,
of.
that was the only question, really.
What was it, an alternative fund source if it was not ARPA?
General fund.
Right, but probably waiting until the, next fiscal year, since it wasn't included in this year's budget.
I mean, there's still funds in the ARPA fund and still looking for best uses of that, and, you know, for a relatively nominal amount, six grand. You know, if it's ARPA or general, seemed like your recommendation was to maybe take it out of the ARPA fund.
Yes, yep.
So
What's your action?
I would make a motion to approve that request out of the ARPA funds.
I'll second. I'll go ahead first.
Sweet, got it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, for approval. Roll call.
Creachy,
Yes.
Sweet,
Yes.
Warford,
Yes.
Ideas,
Yes.
Nagel,
Yes.
Raffle.
Yes.
Okay, number 5, authorize the mayor to sign a grant application for NDEE CBG program for.
Say that again?
Wow.
What letters did we leave out there? Funding to provide upgrades for LED streetlights.
So, several years ago, we started working to replace all of our streetlights. Our streetlights are unmetered, so we go through this calculation every month to calculate based on the average use per year of a streetlight. And we have been, that's how we're charged. The city is charged for the electricity used for our streetlights. We have begun the process of converting all of our, I think it's high pressure sodium to LED, which is a pretty substantial savings in the electricity use across a year. But this is an opportunity, a maximum amount of 50,000 is the max grant amount you can apply for to get resources to buy additional streetlight heads. I don't know what our chances are, but it's definitely a zero chance if we don't throw our name in the ring. So,
Is there a match
requirement?
what's
Is there
that?
a match requirement to the grant?
There is not a match requirement, but our match would be to do the installation.
Why wouldn't we?
Yeah.
Motion to authorize.
So,
Motion made and second, authorize the signature for the LED streetlights.
I will say that even if we got the 50,000, the full 50,000, that's not, based on my calculations, going to be enough to get all of the rest of them that are, we're about 40% converted, and this would get us a ways further, but not fully converted, so,
Moves the needle forward, so.
yeah,
And to clarify, you said that the city is charged, but the city is charged from the utility department.
yes,
It's left pocket, right pocket, but it's good to keep it straight.
yes.
Okay.
As it is with all
Yeah.
governmental facilities owned by the city.
Okay, I have a motion and a second.
Okay, forgot that. Roll call.
Krejci?
Yes.
Ideas?
Yes.
Nagel?
Yes.
Rappel?
Yes.
Sweet?
Yes.
Warford?
Yes.
Okay. Mayor's comments, I do have a couple of them. One of them, kind of going along with grants. Friday, Melissa and Ryan Hurst and I will be going into Omaha to sign and receive grant money for infrastructure. Congressman Bacon got that for us, and so.
How much is that?
What is the total?
Actually, this is not, this was a grant application through PHMSA, which is under the Department of Transportation, and it was a competitive grant application, so we don't know yet what the dollar amount
Find
is.
out Friday.
All right.
Yeah.
The last round of funding, there was 2 entities that received funding, a small community, maybe Pender, and MUD. We submitted a grant application last funding round and we didn't make the cut. Ryan worked with HDR on this grant application, which was who had worked with the MUD, the City of Omaha, to get their grant. And so it was, helping with the grant application process, it was much smoother with HDR.
They are to help us.
So that's
We'll
in the
let you
award.
know
Okay.
how much the grant is.
Bring down
I was trying to find it in the document,
Yeah.
and I didn't.
Our total grant application, I think, was 1.2 or 1.5 million, so we'll see.
Okay.
I think Ryan's helping for 1.2,
Yeah.
so that'll hopefully happen. The other thing I'd like to bring up, our annexation study, she's not ready to present it yet, but it's starting to be maybe a timing thing that at least discuss it. There'll be 3 phases to it if depending on if everybody says yes or move ahead. It's the area where the NRD is going to be building their new office. There's the Wahoo sign and there's a Quonset. There's an empty lot there that NRD owns, of course. And they are building the office there. And discussion between Ryan Hurst and NRD committee, I happen to be on that committee, was about annexation at least to the north edge of that empty lot where the building will be built. At the time, the advantage was Butler County Power would put in 3-phase at a cost of $80,000. And Ryan said through the city, plus us being able to sell electricity to that, our cost to put that same 3-phase in was about $40,000. So it is a savings to them, and heading in the right direction if eventually we're gonna continue annexing on the west side of Wahoo, which means going across the 4-lane.
Is it going across or going under?
Yeah. And I don't know what the disadvantage, we own the intersection then. I don't know what the I mean, what that involves, I suppose. If they're gonna put a roundabout in there, we probably have to pay for it. I don't know if that's gonna happen. But anyway, just to get a feel, so you're aware, that that's a possibility of the NRD board coming to planning and zoning. Next Thursday, a week from this Thursday, the committees meet, operations committee, and I'm chair of that. We'll be discussing the project and discussing their interest in having that area zoned for residential or for business, commercial. Talking to Eric this morning, we've changed our type of heating. It was gonna go thermal, which required 3-phase. Going back to conventional furnace type heating, central air heating, it's possible we don't need 3-phase out there. So that advantage to the NRD goes away, but there would still be some advantage for them to be on city water, city electricity, which would still help them, but not quite to that extent. And then that action will be, an hour later, the exec committee will be meeting to discuss what goes on the agenda for the board meeting, which is the second Monday. After that meeting is over, we'll know what their feelings are, what our thoughts are, and if everything appears to be moving forward, then they would be on the agenda at planning and zoning, the first meeting or the meeting in May. So at least putting the pieces together, because they say they're probably going to start putting equipment out there this week to start construction on that, so it's going to move. So, any thoughts on moving ahead with the annexation? Your thoughts on the pros and cons of it? I haven't really asked you yet, but
I guess I would prefer to wait until we have it specifically on the agenda.
Yeah.
So that anyone else who would be interested in hearing about it.
yeah, okay. So if it's all right, I'll just say that we discussed it here, and we're probably open to it. As it moves forward, we'll have our chance to testify at the planning and zone meeting or at their board meeting. So, okay, that's really all I have. Anybody else have any comments?
One quick question, since we're talking about LED lights, are we getting any closer to getting rid of the purple lights, or we're just gonna live with those?
Yeah, we got a couple purple ones around, they sure stand out.
Yeah, so we had conversations with the company we purchased them through, who's had conversations with the company, with the manufacturer. We expect that probably all of them will turn purple at some point, but there has been minimal agreement by the manufacturer because they're past their 5-year warranty period. So it is a continued conversation. There's some of them that we did get, and they gave us the parts to change out, and they've been doing some of those, but not all of them. So, and it's even though they were all purchased at the same time.
We are no longer purchasing from the same manufacturer?
No. So, it's been a conversation that we've had in the office, and it's disappointing that that's where we've landed, but.
They turn purple all over the country when those guys go under, I guess, trying to fix everybody's, but.
Yeah, drive around with
It's
it.
just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Open up for us.
We've got quite a few fixed in Berkeley, but yeah, there was a ton.
I think right there on, what, 56th Street?
Yeah.
Right on there.
Yeah.
Or somebody goes, oh, it's purple, oh, it's purple.
Looks intentional.
Sorry, I don't have a better answer.
So they said, too bad, so sad. And we
Pretty
said,
much.
okay, we'll just make sure we never do business with them again. That sucks.
Well, good. Any other comments, questions, thoughts? If not, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. Second. All in favor, stand.